Ready? My name is Sarah, Rus Bat Sarah, and I converted to Judaism in September 1999. I went to the mikveh on the 27th of Elul, and on the first day of Chol Hamoed Sukkot, I flew from Manchester to Eretz Israel to make Aliyah, and I've been here ever since.
And where are you now?
And now I'm living in Sfat with my husband, Binyamin. We've been married 4 years.
Wonderful. So why did you convert to Judaism?
I was looking for a creator since I was a small child, and at the time I was a small child, I was looking at the stars and the moon and the sky, and I promised myself I'd find out who the creator was. I knew nothing of Avraham Avinu. There was no Bible in my home. The only God that I heard about was the one that will punish you if you do anything wrong.
Wow. And so what was the process for you to become a convert? How was that for you?
Very difficult. They pushed me away, which is what they say they have to do. They pushed me away 3 times. Then I went back to the Beit Din in Manchester, and they told me they couldn't do them. They didn't do them anymore. I had to go to London. So I went to London, and I was interviewed there and grilled there again. Then I was given permission to start learning and go and live in Manchester. I was already married to a Jewish man, so it had to be found out for sure that I wasn't doing it just to be married to a Jewish man. I was doing it l'shem shamayim, which I was. So I went to do my conversion, and it was hell on earth for the first 5 months. Mamash, I was in a house with a certain lady who was so cruel to me and so horrible to me that I cried into towels, not into handkerchiefs anymore. And after 4 months of living with her and her being my teacher and torturer, she said to me, "You can't learn anymore. They've taken away the permission. And I don't want a non-Jewish lodging in my house. So you'll have to find somewhere else to live." So I did have 1 or 2 good friends who were very supportive, and they found me a nice little granny flat 3 or 4 houses further up the street, and I stayed there, and all I did was learn and work and learn and work in my profession as a midwife. And after 9 months they agreed to start me off learning again, and I got another teacher who was wonderful, and I learned with her 3 times a week. I went to work on night duty at night, and all I did was learn and work and learn and work. And after that it went pretty quickly. Now the guy that I was married to, the man I was married to, Sadiq Livraka, was sent away from Manchester. He was sent to Eretz Israel. They literally kicked him out of the country.
Who's they?
The Beit Din. The Beit Din wrote a letter and said to me, if he stays, we won't do your conversion. If he goes to Eretz Israel, you can go with him and find a kosher Beit Din there, and if he goes, we'll continue your conversion. So we decided that he would go to Eretz Israel, and he went, and it was much easier when he wasn't there. Of course, we didn't live together. We were reduced to the ignominious meeting on the corner of a street, or in the laundrette, or in a cafe, and so it was very hard when he was there. But when he wasn't there, it wasn't. I just worked and learned and worked and learned. And
how long had you been together at this point?
In total, from when I met him, when I married him, to when I became Jewish, to when he passed away, was only 7 years.
Wow.
And 5 of those years were as a non-Jew.
Wow. So you went to the Beis Din, and the Beis Din told him he had to go to Israel. And so how long were you here were you in Manchester by yourself learning?
About a year and a half, maybe, at the most.
And then after that, you went through the conversion ceremony and process with the Rabbanim, and they were fine with it.
Yes.
And then did he come back to you in Manchester for you to get married, or because you have to get married again right after?
Yes. No, I told him not to come back because there was nothing to come back to. So he stayed in Beit Arilit. Sometimes he stayed with people, sometimes he slept in the shul. He didn't have a proper home, and he didn't have any money either. And so when I came back and I met him, he told me that I didn't have to marry him if I didn't want to, and I was Jewish. And I said, well, you know, I'm not doing that, I want to marry you. So I married him under a huppah in Beit Arilit. And he had a heart attack at the wedding.
Wow.
And we were rushed in an ambulance to Sharet Tzedek Hospital. And he recovered, took his own discharge from the hospital after 3 days, and we went back to Beit Arilit and began to live together as a man and a wife. And then 9 months later he had another heart attack and he died then.
Wow. So that was a total, after you had converted, you were together for a total of how long?
Not even a year.
Wow.
We got married in Hanukkah and he passed away the following August.
And so now you're living in Israel by yourself?
Yes.
As a widow?
Yes.
And so what was the next step for you after that?
The people of Beit Arilit, the friends that I still have, even though that was 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, they were absolutely deluged me with love and kindness. It was so good to me. And after about 6 weeks, somebody suggested a shidduch with another man from Kiryat Yorim near Yerushalayim. And they said this man has parnasa, he works with computers, he's a fine man, he's also a Ger Tzedek from Australia, but he has a wife that has Alzheimer's disease, and this man has been doing a Heter Meir Rabbonim in order to marry another woman while his wife is still alive but not capable of being a wife.
Wow.
So Baruch went through the whole process. It took 2 years, and the Rabbonim told him he was allowed to start dating ladies. And I said, well, I'll go and meet him, I have nothing to lose. It sounds nice. He was South African, a very sweet, gentle creature. And I met him, and we had a nice date together, and he asked me to see him the next day, and he asked me to see him the next day, and then I knew that he was the one that I had to marry. So I married 6 months later, and I inherited a beautiful stepdaughter and her husband, and four or five grandchildren at that point, and a beautiful husband and a nice home and a guy who had panos, and I thought I had it made. I did for 7 years, another 7 years. And,
so you were married to this gentleman for 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
Wow.
I married him in the Shemitah year, and he passed away in the Shemitah year.
Wow.
I kind of think he belonged to Hashem. And had another 2 more grandchildren during those 7 years. And then the other wife died. After 5 years of being married to him, the other wife passed away. And the daughter was struggling terribly financially, decided to go back to Australia, to live in Australia. And he was devastated, absolutely devastated. And then he got sick, and we found that he had a horrible disease in the head of the pancreas.
Wow.
And it was a short illness, 6 months, and then he passed away. And then it was really, really devastating. And I was angry with God, and I used to yell at God, I used to scream at God. Even when he was suffering in the last couple of months of his illness, you know, do you do this to such a sweet old man? What's the matter with you? Oh, you nasty, rotten tyrant that you are. Why are you doing this to this nice old man? He's not done anything wrong, he's just a lovely man. And I used to throw things at the wall. I used to throw cups at the wall and break them. And just so, I said, is this what I gave up everything for? Anything I love, you take away from me. So I didn't know whether I would ever want to get married again to anybody, because I was so afraid. And 6 years went by, and in those 6 years I did so many different things. I went to see my stepdaughter in Australia twice. I went to see my non-Jewish family in England, my non-Jewish son in England. I went to Ulpan, I went to college, I did all kinds of things, and then after about 4 years I decided I wanted to get married again. I went to learn Hasidut in Yerushalayim every day, in Ohio, the Women's Chabad Learning Centre, and I decided that I wanted to marry a Chabadnik. Yes, I'd like to marry a Chabadnik. So I asked the teachers there, you know, make shidduchim, you know, any guys who, oh no, you're too old, there won't be anybody in, there isn't a big enough pool of Chabadnikim for you to get this guy, to get a guy who's your age and right for you. So I said, my positive affirmation, I'm waiting for my Chabadnik. I'm waiting for my Chabadnik. And then I came to Sfat for 2 days with a certain lady who has an apartment here. And I stayed in her apartment with her for a couple of days in Sfat. And a girl came to mend a doorknob on a door, a young woman who's a handy woman. And she looked at me and she said, you're a widow, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. She said, you need a shidduch. I said, yes, I do. She said, I've got just the man for you. I said, oh yeah, who's that? She said, he's Australian and he's a Chabadnik. And I said, pull me off the ceiling. Pull me off the ceiling. So I went, I thought, oh, it sounds like a nice idea. And I thought, something so good will never work. Surely it's just a dream, you know. It's that won't happen. It's just a dream. So I went back to my place in Kiryat Yearim, and a few other men were suggested. I went out just to do the hishtadlut, and I was getting on the wrong train. So after about 2 or 3 months, this young woman called me and she said, come for Shabbat because I'm going to invite him and you'll both be here on Friday night. So I said, that's fine, but I believe that you told me that he's not ready to marry anybody yet because his wife, of blessed memory, has only just passed away not long ago. She said, yes, I know, but come anyway. So 2 days prior to that, one of my other friends in Yerushalayim had said to me, Sarah Ruth, it's no use you going to Shabkanit. They got all the good ones go at the Shabbos table. I thought, oh boy, right, here we go. So we'll go to Sfat and meet this guy at the Shabbos table. So I came and I met him at the Shabbos table, and we had in common, we had Australia and all sorts of things in common. So we talked and it was very nice, and he went his way and I went mine. And the young lady said to me afterwards, she said he was very angry because he said, you know, he doesn't want to meet anybody yet, and he's not ready yet, and you might miss an opportunity if you're hanging around waiting for him, and it might not work, and it's not nice to do that to her. So anyway, Bekitso, maybe another couple of months later, she called me and she said, you know, he doesn't want to date anybody, but he liked you, he'll date you. So he dated me, and he said, I'm not going to ask any questions about the future till after my wife's yahrzeit. So we dated about 16 times, not because we didn't know, but because he wanted to wait for that event. So in the meantime, I'm just sitting in Kiryat Yearim, going to Shiurim and learning and going to Yerushalayim every day, and just generally enjoying my life, which at the beginning was very hard and very stressful and very upsetting from time to time. And I didn't really like Kiryat Yearim. It was very Litvish, and I felt like a lot of people didn't accept me. I don't know whether it was because I was a ger, or whether it was because I married a man on the Hetemeya Rabbonim, and I looked about 20 years younger than him, and maybe, you know, I'd done some inappropriate stuff on him or something, but everything was kosher, everything was al pi halacha with Baruch. So when I left there and I came to Sfat, I felt like a whole new world opened up. I had a husband who was trying to be a chassid of the Rebbe. I had many good friends. There was a whole lightness and airiness and happiness and acceptance in Svat that wasn't where I lived before. It just wasn't there. I have some people who I dearly love there who were very good to me when I was a widow, but it's not the same, it wasn't the same feeling as it is here. This is just a beautiful place, and Baruch Hashem, we have our ups and downs, but I'm...
So you married the gentleman?
I married the gentleman, and married him this next week. It'll be 4 years. On Clark Sivon we got married, and we're living in a beautiful apartment in Svat, and I think most of the time we're very happy. We have our ups and downs, and it's not a bed of roses, so it's good. It all turned out good in the end.
So looking back at the whole thing from beginning to the present, what are your feelings now?
My feelings now are that all the struggle and all the difficulty was very necessary. I think some of the things that the Beit Din did during the conversion were not perhaps not what they could have been. I think once you accept somebody, it's not really very nice to give them somebody who's going to torture them, because once you've accepted them, you've accepted that they're sincere and they're real. So why start torturing them? And why it stopped, it was all stopped for that 9 months, I never knew. But looking back, you know, I lost 2 people who I loved, and that takes a certain amount of strength to be able to bear that. And I think perhaps Hashem was making me strong enough to cope with those 2 huge losses, all by myself, and as it were, and having no other family here, that in retrospect it was all good, but at the time it was sometimes awful. But in retrospect it was necessary. It was very necessary.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.